What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And a couple days ago, around noontime, I did a live with Hector Bravo, the former lieutenant from Cdcr. He has the channel That Prison Guard, and the live went incredibly well. Roughly 1,000 people watched it during the time that we were on. We talked about the integration in CDCR. We addressed and I asked him some of the questions that you guys have been asking me. He had some questions for me, of course, and just overall, we had a great conversation. Very informative, a little bit of humor, some more stories from my time serving in prison, his time working in prison, and just all around good substance, right? So when the live was over, I noticed that it had been flagged by YouTube, right, for not being advertiser friendly. So I took it down and tried to re-upload it as a video, and YouTube saw it as reused content. And so basically they kind of shadow banned it, right? And it was up for hours and had like 100 views. And so I had to pull it back down. I went through and edited out some of the language, right? Because both of us can get a little colorful when we talk. And then I'm doing this brief intro video in the hopes that YouTube will recognize it as a new content, right? A new video. Because it's my stuff, it's my content. So anyways, man, I hope you guys enjoy it. The video in its entirety is there. It's almost 2 hours, right? It's a long video, but there's a lot of substance to it, right? And I think a lot of information. So enjoy the video, man. Drop a comment. Let me know, what you guys think. If there's other stuff that you want us to talk about, and of course, if you're not already, I encourage you to go over there to That Prison Guard and subscribe. All right, you guys, take care. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. So there's been some interesting stuff in CDC, right?
To put it lightly,
right? As usual. And I know you and I talked, and I did that video finally yesterday. And so I'm curious your thoughts on it.
My thoughts on what's going on, man. This is a train wreck that was foreseen. This is a train wreck that was foreseen, dating back to 2013, man. Estimated 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was changes here, changes there. Every day you get a new memorandum. Every day you get a new memo. Every day is a new policy change. It got so crazy that policy was changing and the word was not going down to the correctional officers. The truth is like, oh, we can't do that anymore. Like people really getting fired for doing shit that they used to do before. Oh, I didn't get the memo, So
it's just on a prison gang level. Before the dudes got out the shoe, like when they disbanded the NR and that kind of stuff, we went through the same thing. Hey, things are different. It says who? But just
no, it's the same. It's the same, man. And they be paying you $100,000 a year minimum. That's a lot of money, man. Especially in the climate, the society that we're at right now, right? Me and you, we're very intelligent when it comes to the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things. You become a slave to the system. So it wasn't benefiting anybody to walk away from their job and say, hey, man, going crazy over here in the prison system, right? Because things really hadn't gotten that bad yet until, when bodies start dropping, that's kind of like, what's your take on that, man? That's kind of extreme.
No, it definitely is. It's funny. I have a video. I was gonna put it out today. Realistically, that's probably not gonna happen. I'll probably put it out tomorrow. But going over all the murders from 2023 that happened within CDC, right? There was a lot, bro. There was a lot, but there was also what I'm looking at is more who were these individuals that did it, like what they come to prison for, that kind of stuff, as opposed to the politics of why the different moves happen, which sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. A lot of S&Y deaths, a lot of people with funny charges getting hit in reception, a lot of stuff over there.
Let me add to that real quick. If this was regular prison, I wouldn't even be tripping, man. If this was regular prison, pegadas, hits, murders, it would just be normal program. It would just be, it is what it is. But this is not that, bro. Like you stated, there's more. This is setups, dude.
So, and I'm glad you mentioned setups because I see in the comments, right? The comments in my video yesterday, and a lot of people are like, oh, the COs, this is these are the staged fights, right? Which we know that there's a history in the Department of Corrections with particular institutions a lot of times and particular sets of COs that fights were set up, right? Um, but we also know that administration operates on a different level than your rank and file COs, right? And you speak about that often. That's honestly where I've kind of gotten a little bit different perspective from. So I'm curious your take on the stuff I talked about in terms of them putting particular SNY people on GP yards, but they're not letting them out. The COs aren't letting them out. They're, the dudes don't want to come out. So it a lot of people are looking, they're like, oh, it's the setup fights, it's the stage fights. Do you see it that way, or do you see it as something different?
No, I don't look at it. I don't. It's not. I'll be honest with you, bro. It's not officers setting up fights. And I'll be honest with you, man. Ain't nobody, dude. And you said it in one of your videos. Officers, COs are not popping doors on purpose because they don't want to have that blood on their hands. Right?
Right.
We're in 2024, man. Ain't nobody have heart to do anything anymore. Like,
Right.
or nobody has nobody can be that dirty at the lower level because, like, just trying to get a paycheck, trying to be
Mhm.
lazy, go home. You know what I mean? They ain't trying to get. They're trying to survive the department.
Mhm.
Let me take you back to the year 2017, 2018, when this all began. This really
Mhm.
truly began back then. There was an SNY yard, Alpha Yard, Donovan. It was SNY. We had some hitter, a white boy. He was GP. They were going to put him on the SNY yard.
Mhm.
Why? I don't know, but they were. He had the cuffs on him at the plaza gate. He told the officer, as soon as you take off these handcuffs, I'm going to take flight on you. So
Mhm.
he told him straight up. He was coming out of ADSEG. The officer, using his wits, told the lieutenant. The lieutenant's a solid dude. Lieutenant comes out. Said, hey, what's up, man? He's like, hey, LT, I'm telling you right now, as soon as these cuffs come off, I'm taking flight on everybody right here, everybody in green.
Right.
So he goes inside, he tells the captain, the female captain, she was a bro, and they again pushing that agenda. Now we're getting into managers and administrators.
Got you.
He told her, hey, ma'am, he's saying he's gonna take off on staff. You know what she told him? What?
Mhm.
Are you scared, Lieutenant?
Right. So real quick, the agenda that this captain is pushing, though, in this situation, what's her agenda? Because I don't think her agenda is, oh, I want to see this dude get blasted on the
No.
yard. What's her agenda?
So I stated on one of my videos, bro. You have to see the big picture. The big picture is let's go all the way to George Soros, who has a lot of money, who wants to see the world burn. Right?
Right.
You have Governor Gavin Newsom. He is in the same boat. He's getting money. He's getting money for these California projects, the Norway project, pitching these colleges, and you have that experience,
Mhm.
pitching this and that. So the managers and administrators, I don't think they're getting money in their pocket. What they're getting is promotions and title and power. That's what they're getting. That's their incentive. So if you're a captain, something happens from the rank of officer to lieutenant. You're an hourly employee. Hourly. You get paid when you do
Right.
overtime. Captain and above, your salary. Something
Got
happens, bro. They got you by the nuts. Like, they got you. And it's cowardice, being a coward, backed with some type of, like, I don't know what they do, brainwash you up at the
you.
top. I don't know what happens, bro. They just lose. I've seen people switch up from
Mhm.
lieutenant to captain. So her motive, her incentive is her thinking, my hands are clean. When that goes off on you, there's nothing
Right.
saying that, right? She verbally told him. She didn't put that in a memo. She didn't put that in the email. They're smarter than that.
Right.
So she just wants to be able to tell the captain, hey, we did what you did. We did what you said, sir.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, and I didn't. I'm glad you clarified that. And we've talked, so I kind of figured that was the angle you were going to go. Um, but I think it's important to come from you as somebody that worked, behind the wall. Because a lot of us that have been convicts that have done time, uh, we don't we don't look at that manager level, right? Because that's not who we really interact with. We interact with you, so it's kind of like, hey, you're gonna go put me over here. Okay, it's personal, right? It's you guys and the you guys that I have access to. is the CO that's escorting me, right? Is
Correct.
maybe the sergeant, maybe the lieutenant, right? But uh, and so it's viewed as a very us and them. And I know we were talking a little bit the other day, and something I thought was pretty interesting. I always assumed that um, COs just didn't want to do paperwork, right? I never imagined that they had a different kind of human perspective, to be honest, about maybe some of the choices that they made or whatever. I always just figured these dudes aren't popping these doors because they don't want to do paperwork. These dudes aren't doing this because they don't want to do paperwork, right? And there's some COs who don't mind doing the paperwork for the bloodlust of the battle, right?
Right.
Um, but you offered up kind of a different angle from your experience of how you guys see how we're all kind of being screwed together here.
Facts. Yes. No, you hit you homie, you got bulldogs over there? Or what's
Yeah,
up? What's happening?
no, no. Pitbull,
All right.
Pitbull.
Um, but
He's hearing something out front.
there's some COs, including myself, lazy and don't want to do the paperwork. Yeah, nobody wants to do paperwork, right? But aside from that, look, when an inmate overdoses, you see the cops, you see the COs on the tier pumping on the dude's chest, right? Yeah, half the reason they're doing that is because they want to save their paycheck. The other half, they ain't really trying to see them die on their watch. You know what I mean? Like, hey, come back to life. Um, the the episode you dropped, I think it was this morning. It made me laugh, bro, when you said they're not 50-50 yards anymore. They're 95% GP and 5% S and Y. And that way CDCR can say, hey, they're mixed.
Right. Integrated is integrated, right?
That's the truth. I'm surprised officers haven't been reaching out more to me on like telling me that, even though I already know it. I knew it then, and then when you confirmed it again. I'm surprised they're not telling me like, hey, Hector, like we have 3 S and Ys in the building. They've been here for 2 weeks and they haven't left their cell.
Right.
That would be the truth. That would be the truth, right? And
Yeah.
it's not. Let's say they did pop the cell when it was full blown day room. GPs were out. The dude's gonna get hit. The dude's gonna get right. The only way I can see is no officer wants to get caught up in a wreck. Like that's a wreck, bro. That's a wreck.
Oh, in today's day and age, especially, and
Lawsuits,
yeah,
just you and the administration looks to burn the cop and say, why did you allow this inmate to get hit? And you're like, what the? I don't even want him in this building.
right,
Nobody
right,
does.
right. He doesn't want to be here. The other guys don't want him here.
And
I
the
don't
COs
want him
don't want him
here.
there.
And I think that's another thing that I found interesting is uh with the COs, you guys don't have as much control as I think sometimes those of us when we were doing time that we thought you did. In the sense of like when I heard about Salinas Valley and there's an SNY dude who's in a cell on a GP yard, and he's already gone to SNY before, so it ain't like he has a problem locking it up, right? So he's vocal and loud. Hey, fool, I don't CO, I can't be here. I can't be here. I don't want to be here. Like, I'm not safe here. My life's in danger here, right? And other people are hearing him.
Right.
And the CO is like,
Let me show you.
I can't do nothing about it. And I think from a level of from the level of somebody doing time, it could look like that CO just doesn't want to. That CO doesn't like me.
No.
Maybe the sergeant on the yard is pissed off at me. Maybe this, maybe that. But what you said is these dudes don't have that option. They want to move that guy off the yard too.
Let me show you what it looks like behind the scenes. I was a lieutenant, right?
Mhm.
That's in between the
Right.
sergeant and in between the captain, right?
Right.
I'm in that sweet spot. This is what it looks like. Me telling we already know it. The whole yard knows the dude is not supposed to be there. The whole yard, every officer, every sergeant, the officers will come and tell me, right? Because I like to chill. Hey,
Right.
lieutenant, just to give you a heads up, we're about to get a dude. This dude's all bad. I tell him, thank you for letting me know, right? Because I ain't looking at who's who, what's what.
Right. That's not your job anymore, right?
Anymore, correct? It's not my job anymore. So the inmate will go to the building. The officer will call me, right? Because I had that communication with those officers. I wasn't a micromanager or a dick. They felt comfortable talking to me. be like, ALT, like it's all bad. And I'll be like, hold on, let me go talk to the captain, right? That's my job.
Right.
Hey, Cap, this is what a back conversation would look like in their office. Hey, Captain, it's all, what's up with that inmate right there? They will get very short. Oh, he
Mm.
got endorsed here. He's housed here. He was properly endorsed. He went to ICC. They kicked him out. This is his yard. And that's it, bro. Like you can't you can't flip the chair over, slap the
Right.
captain around. You know what I mean? Like that's their stamp of approval. Hey, he's here. He was designated. He's endorsed. He does not have safety concerns, and they'll put that emphasis. He does not
Right.
have safety concerns. He's here. All right, Captain, and then you just walk out, and it ends there.
Mm. That's it. It's and I see you guys in the chat. We got 120 in the building. I appreciate you guys.
That's
Please
deep.
make sure you hit the like. At the same time, I've seen a lot of comments. You guys that have been around the channel know a lot of times when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I kind of focus on the conversation more than I do the comments. But don't think I'm ignoring you. I see you guys, and we'll scroll back through here in a minute and see if we got like questions and stuff. But one of the other things, one of the examples you use, and it was funny because I've been on the receiving end of that, right? Was situations where COs, right, will not write stuff up or will write stuff up generously
Oh,
when they have some compassion on the situation, right? And I thought it was funny because like I said, and I don't remember the details of the situation that you mentioned, but I've been on the receiving end of uh, being the aggressor in a conflict that the SEAL wrote it up as mutual combat, and that was not a mutual combat, right? But I mean, I'm not going to complain, you know.
right.
And I felt like it's because of who the target was, and the SEAL understood the politics of the situation, right? He knew why I was mad at this person. It's there was no conversation between us, but just because it's their job to observe, and it was kind of some common sense, prison shit, gang shit, group segment stuff. So uh in his mind, I guess he felt like that fool had that coming and didn't blame me. So obviously still got a write up, but he wrote it up more generous than he could. And then on the receiving end, you know, I was in a 2-on-1 and I was the one, right? And those CEOs wrote that up, right? Um, I was the one. Really, it was like me against 2.5 people because that's when I got hit in the head with a steak cup. Split my wig, so I still got the scar up there. Fucking steak cups, boy.
Yeah.
You don't have to melt them down to make pieces. You could just
No, it looks like
batter
that one.
somebody with that shit. This man, yeah, no. And the CEO wrote it up as a mutual, right? When I mean it was mutual, but it was mutual. My 2 fists against 4 fists in a state cup, right?
Yeah.
Again, on the flip side, I'm not going to complain, right? I'm you know, that's not what you do in prison, right? You whatever's written up, you write it out. Uh, but just that COs would be that aware. Oh yeah, you were talking about the SNY guy with the in the pipe area.
Oh yeah, that story.
And yeah, and how you guys were kind of empathetic to the situation.
Yeah, we had the greened
Right.
up on that one. But it's no different, man. A good correctional officer is aware of the prison politics, the inmate politics, aware of their surroundings, definitely aware of our policy and procedure and the law, and has some leeway, some wiggle room. It's no different than if you're a CHP, California Highway Patrol officer, out on the streets. You can have 2 car accidents, right? And they're just regular people. You show up, oh, it's just business as usual, right? You're not really your anxiety is not gonna shoot up, right? If you're a CHP officer. Now, let's say you arrive at a crash scene where a drunken driver ate kids. There's kids everywhere. That CHP is gonna feel he's gonna feel a certain way,
Mhm.
right? We're human, man. COs, they feel certain ways when certain things happen. Like you mentioned, if you have an aggressor, an inmate, and a victim, well, if the victim has some extremely horrible, horrific charges, hey, you know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes a favor might land in the, you know what I mean?
Right.
doing the Lord's work, as I used to
Right,
call
right.
it.
But and we agree on that, right? It really is.
So
I'm not
yeah,
advocating violence,
no,
but
I
I'm
don't
not
advocate.
sympathetic. But I'm
But
not sympathetic to
so,
victims.
and we understand prison. Well, the ones that know, right?
Mhm.
Some people are gonna get shortchanged, and it sucks if you're an inmate and you get shortchanged or you get the shit end of the stick. That sucks, right? But if you have the communication skills to say, "Hey, man, I'll look out for you on the back end," right? I
Mhm.
got you on the next one. Something to that effect. Nothing shady, nothing um illegal, but just like, hey, don't trip, right? You ain't going nowhere. You're gonna be here for years, decades. I ain't going nowhere. We're
Right,
gonna be here, right? There's gonna
right.
be a next time, and I got you on the next one.
Mhm.
It kind of give and take, you know what I mean? In a way. That to me, that develops a rapport with the inmates. They're like, all right, this dude isn't a one-way asshole, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like everybody has their own style.
Well, I think that's what what's up, Cricket? I think that's what a lot of us learn. We may come in off the streets with that attitude, but that's kind of for those that are politicking on some level, right? You're taught that, right? Whether you're taught it explicitly or you're taught it by example, right? There's there's some very clear boundaries, right, on the GP side, and of course, not everybody adheres to them, but there's some really clear boundaries of what's proper and what's not. Um, but if you're doing time and you just walk around with a chip on your shoulder and every CO every minute every day,
Right.
it don't even look at me, you're just making your life more difficult. And seasoned COs, in my experience, they know, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna mess with you, but I'm gonna go hit your homeboy cell, right?
Yeah, that's a
And
tactic.
and right, and so, but that homeboy, he's older, he's been around longer, it's like that's who you got to listen to, right? Or at least somewhere in that chain. So I'm gonna go hit his cell and make sure to let him know the reason I'm hitting your cell is because Rascal over there, every time he goes to chow, he got a little reckless look, man.
That's a
Okay.
tactic.
And um, I'm curious. Oh, another question I had. So and then I'm gonna kind of switch gears just a little bit, but uh you hear folks, and I know you've talked about it before. I've heard some of the guys that have been on the SNY side talk about it before, but that CDC, and I'm assuming at the manager level, right? But I don't know. For years has been telling SNY gang members, hey, your gang activity is violating the
Yeah,
conditions of your SNY chrono. And if you keep it up, we're gonna pull your SNY chrono and we're gonna go put you on the GP side.
facts.
And you can go do your gang banging over there, right? So I've heard of that threat again for years, right? Or it sounds like it's been going on for years. In the case of what we have here, I know that some of the guys that are being put into these GP cells, um, at least from what I'm hearing, some of them they're coming back on new terms. So they were S and Y on their last term. Now they're back on a new term. They go through reception, and this is the first yard that they're getting put on, right? So I don't think in those cases it would be because they were gangbang on the SNY. Some of them I know do claim SNY gangs, right? Like they've put 2 5ers out there, they put Northern Riders out there. Um, I don't know about like Zapata. There's so many gangs, I don't know what they all are, but I know those two at least. Um, but then some of them are not uh are not prison gang members at least, right? Like they put some blacks out there, some whites out there that aren't that weren't clicked up with S and Y gangs.
But they get
Do you
hit
think?
too. Whites and the
Oh yeah.
blacks, they get hit too.
Oh no. Yeah. 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 They absolutely. But so some people are saying, based on the video, like, oh, these dudes that are putting on these GP yards, these are the guys who had their S and Y chronos pulled. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you have integrated yards where it doesn't matter if you have an S and Y chrono or not, you can be on those yards. But they're saying, oh, that's the punishment for these guys. Those threats that have been over the years, now they're coming true. Do you think that's happening maybe with some of them or?
Okay, so I know it's confusing because you haven't seen it in a long time, right? Or I seen it up until 1 year ago.
Hmm.
Every case scenario you can think of is happening, just like you
Okay.
said. Every case scenario,
Okay.
and then add some more to it.
Right.
Is
Right.
happening, right? You have your dudes that were SNY, they ain't acting right. Guess what? You're just going on a bus. You're going to Calipat level 4. I don't care, right? Mother
Okay.
gets booked. And then you said this is the first time I ever hear you say they parole, they come back, new number. Doesn't matter. Hey, it doesn't matter. We don't have SNY. So
Right.
Josh, check
Yeah, I
this
don't
out,
know if
man.
it's your number or not, to be honest. But
Check this out, Josh. CDCR doesn't do a good job of saying the truth at all, ever,
right.
right?
That's
So
why we listen to you.
check this out. You brought up a good point, and you did some researching. Who's to say that they did not already get rid of sensitive needs yard and general population? And this is why I say that.
Hmm.
Level 4 GP inmates active. Are you on an active yard? Ask yourself that. What made you active? The fact that you were on a yard that was good. Because if you go to the CDCR website, you look at, I think it was like Pleasant Valley, you read what their mission statement is. It's all on there. And it doesn't say no longer says SNY or GP like it used to. It used
Right.
to say we have 2 facilities that are SNY, 3 facilities that are GP.
Right.
Now it says Pleasant Valley houses level 1, 2, and level 4 inmates, period.
Hmm.
They literally made every yard no good. So now what? Now that if I could look at a GP inmate and say, hey, bro, the yard that you're on is no good. What's their next move?
Hmm.
Think
See,
about it.
that is tricky, and it makes sense. Um, so there's somebody who recently paroled from a yard. Uh, uh, that if I was to tell you the yard, right, and they're close friends, and I don't, not everybody wants, you know, there's a lot of investigators out there trying to, oh, who might he be talking to, this and that,
Right,
and
right, right, right,
people
right, right.
people on the streets and people in the yards catch some heat sometimes for
Right,
talking to
right,
them.
right,
So
right.
so that's the only reason I'm not being more specific.
That's
But
fine.
um, but so this individual recently paroled from uh what any of us would say is an active yard,
Right.
right? Um, and you know, he paroled active, you know, but on paper that's not an active yard. On paper that's a non-designated yard, and there
Mm-hmm.
are individuals on that yard that are S and Y, or maybe who came from other actually integrated yards, right? So regardless, they came from somewhere that was not an active yard, and now they're on this yard, but it's modified program, and it's more than just one or two, right? Like Salinas has one or two here, one or two there. This is more than one or two, but it's not like a whole building. And these, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that they're just like in one building, or whatever. But regardless, it's a modified program. So from the active mindset, right, in terms of the convict, that is still an active yard, right? It's
That's
absolutely
still an
still an
active.
active yard. It is still an active yard because there is no mixing between the decent handful, right? Um, of non-active, we'll just say. Right? I'm
Damn.
assuming that they were all S and Y, but
Right, right.
to be generous, I'll say non-active. You know, but um, they don't mix at all. They don't go to yard together. They don't go to chow together. They don't go to day room. So because they don't have access to each other, right? It's not like, oh, you're on an, what we think of when we hear integrated yard is you have S and Y and non-S and Y that are on the same yard programming. Maybe they're best friends, maybe they're not, but there's no restriction to their access, right? They live next door, they go to the same showers, they go to the same halles. So that's what we think of when we think integrated.
So
And
that current yard that you just explained right now that the homies think is active, would that same scenario have flown in the early 1990s?
yeah, I can't imagine having a scenario where there's people. The only time I have ever seen on a main line, right, where you have individuals housed on that main line, housed in those buildings that don't do the same shit that every other person in that prison does, is when they're on orientation,
Right.
sometimes, right? Like,
Right.
if well, you can't, so you got to go to committee, right?
Right.
But even then, a lot of times you can still get out your cell, especially if you have a cellie. You know, you're not going to go to chow, you're not going to go to yard, but you could wiggle a little bit. But if they're being super strict, then no, fine. If
Right.
if you're waiting for classification, or if it's
Yeah.
ADSEG overflow, right?
Oh,
If you're not, you're in ADSEG, right? But they just don't have room in ADSEG for you, so you're ADSEG overflow. And in that case, you don't have like at least back then, you wouldn't have, cell 1, 2, and 3 are just dudes on the yard. Cell 4 is AdSeg oversold. Cell 5, 6, 7 are just dudes on the yard. Cell 32 is AdSeg overflow. They're gonna have one part of one T or
C-section,
something.
lower
Yeah,
C-section.
right. And they're gonna be like, hey, there's those dudes, right? And the SEALs will sweat you if you go over there fishing
Right,
on
right,
their
right,
doors
right,
and
right.
shit, because those dudes are supposed to be in the hole. We just can't fit them. Those two scenarios are the only ones I ever saw where you could exist. Bro, if I'm on a main line, if I'm just in Salinas Valley in my cell and it's canteen and I'm like, hey, CO, I don't feel like going outside to get my canteen. Can you go get it for me and bring it to me? They're gonna tell me, go for yourself. You want your canteen? Go pick it up, stupid. Like,
So
yes,
I'm glad you mentioned that, bro. Those two scenarios make total sense. They make sense to convicts and they make sense to COs
right.
because, hey, you have a GP building. You're either on orientation, you ain't got shit coming, right? We'll feed
Mhm.
you separately. You'll walk with your hands behind your back. You're wearing a
Right.
red jumpsuit, but you still could function. Your people ain't necessarily going to hit you, right?
Right.
Unless
No.
or your ASU overflow, AdSeg
Mhm.
overflow, right? Again, if you're, hey, get away from the doors, right? But
Right.
let me tell you what this is like. This is like a general population GP 270 design, GP back in the day in the 90s. And then in cell 101, you have Charles Manson. In
Right.
cell 232, you have Richard Ramirez. And I'm
Right.
not even joking because you have death row kickouts. Death row
Mhm.
kickouts. They're all on the main line now,
Right.
bro. They're all
Right.
on the main line everywhere. As a matter of fact, I think that dude, that badass Snoop's co-partner, I think that
Mhm.
fool was the death row kickout, they said. So that's what it would look like these days. A GPS.
Right.
And now you got the heavy hitters that got kicked out of the shoe.
Right.
So let's say you got
Right.
somebody
So the
from,
levels are raised even more, right?
yep.
Because
This is what a GP building would look like in the 90s for the
right.
folks out there. You
Mhm.
got a 270, you got a heavy hitter from the south up in 217. You got a heavy hitter from the north down in 2. You got Charles Manson in 101. You got, I'm not kidding you, bro.
Right.
We got, what's his face? The actor, Iron
Oh,
Man.
Danny Masterson.
Iron
The
Man.
Robert Downey Jr.
We got Robert Downey Jr. in 207, Danny Masterson. This is
Right.
CDCR 2024.
Right.
Let's get
Right.
wild with it.
Right. That's it.
226 or one, you know what I mean? B
Right.
section
Right.
right there. Um, and let's get some child grandpa that 4 of his grandkids and kids, and let's
Right.
put them right there in 119. And now you have the CO in the building. Like, what the? How the am I supposed to run this program?
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get killed up in here, right? You got the big homies that are like, this ain't cool. I see what CDCR is doing, right?
Yeah.
Then you got the piece of shit inmates that are like, hey, help,
Right. Right.
help.
Right. Right.
That's how
Yeah.
wild it is, bro.
And that's the part where so that's why I say it, like this individual paroled from this yard, there's absolutely no question on him, right? And he's home minding his own business every day. He's smart, right? He's older, but in terms of standing, right? It it is viewed that he paroled from an active yard. There are very active people on that yard from every group segment, right? They still view it as a solid yard. It's viewed system wide as a solid yard. Because these dudes, they don't get access to these dudes. And on the occasion that they do, they blast them off the yard, right?
They're
They get
gonna
them
hit
off the
them.
yard, so therefore the dominant program is an active program. And so therefore it's okay, right? What makes it not okay in the active mindset, right, is when you have these unsavory characters and you allow them freedom of movement. You allow them to exist when you could potentially change that and you choose not to, right? Then you become a piece just like them because you're birds of a feather flock together, right? And if you're gonna flock with those cats, then that's your thing. But as long as CDC keeps it this modified program, it's but see, I don't think no people don't know that that prison is on paper a integrated yard,
Correct.
right?
No good.
And
On paper, no good.
yeah, well on paper it's integrated. It's integrated.
But integrated
The
equals no good.
perception, right. So that's why the perception, if you were to see it on papers, you're like, oh man, that fool, you can't go there. But in reality, you can go there, and it is a solid yard, in by the values of those guys.
Right.
But that's that nuance. But that's why I say it appears CDC didn't put out a memo that I'm aware of that said, hey, all yards are now integrated. However, when I'm looking around and I'm talking to people and I'm looking at the dynamics, these active yards, I don't have like I don't have any context on non-active yards, right? Um, so I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know if they're
Oh, it's worse.
maybe putting some active people over,
Worse.
like it's I kind of rely on YouTube for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But these active yards, every one of them that I'm aware of, somewhere on that yard is somebody who can't program on that yard, right? And if CDC, if I know for a fact they're saying this prison's integrated because of that factor, then I think it's reasonable to think that's what they're saying about these other yards too, right? And so
Yeah.
essentially,
Fake news.
they can now go to Gavin Newsom and tell him, hey, look at that. There's some bloodshed, there's some little skirmishes, 20-something people dying in prison last year. There's a few, right? One every week so far this year. But for the most part,
For
look what we
the
got.
most part.
For the most part, look what we got. And you know what's trip? When I look at all the hot ones from last year, right? I don't want to say there's none, because I have to go back and look at my list. It's like a 10-page Google Doc. It's crazy. But the vast majority, at least, of those hot ones last year were not a product of mixing SNY and GP. There were a couple, right? You had that dude in Salinas Valley who went to Stockton to the medical center and then came back and they tipped over his wheelchair and killed him, right? So you have that one. A lot in reception. You had a lot of them in reception center where people are just coming in and they're getting their cellies. Some of those dudes, based on their charges, you can tell, okay, both of you guys were SNY, right? Like it's your SNY for disgusting things.
Yeah.
Your SNY for less disgusting things, maybe, if we're gonna have a value judgment, right? Like
Right.
but it makes sense why you guys are in a cell together, Other ones,
Right.
based on the charges, I don't know. You can't really
Bro,
say whether or not that person was SNY or not.
I'm telling you, bro. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I saw a murder. My own eyes. 2022 Bravo Yard, Donovan. Well, actually, it was a total of 3 whites. Three white suspects, 1 victim. That victim should not have been on that yard, man. That victim should not have been on that yard. That victim was in, I believe, Solano or CTF or CMF, one of those prisons. They had to cell extract him because
To
he
get
was
him
to get him to Donovan. He knew he was gonna die, bro. He had one of those epiphanies. You know what I mean? Like, this dude put up a fight to not want to get transferred to the motherfucking, like. And it's crazy that I've actually spoken to that inmate that was murdered. I've actually spoken to a family member of his being out now. And that would gave me chills. Like, damn, I never thought I would be talking to you. I saw
Right.
your loved one get murdered as a result of all this stuff. And they were like, yeah, he felt something. He knew he was gonna die. And that's a setup, dude. That's a setup.
Yeah, I wonder where all these ends. Where all this ends up. I know, well, another kind of hot topic, so to speak, right? You talked about the Snoopy murder, right? And people saying, oh, there's going to be a lawsuit. I talked about it a little bit in the video that I did. I don't see a successful lawsuit coming from the override because, at least in my time in there, we saw overrides all the time. But, that's back with the overcrowding. We had level ones and level twos that went out and programmed on level 4 yards. And when I was in Solano, we had the gym. There was level ones. We were level threes. Like it
But
mixes like that.
this is different though. This is different.
Oh,
Just like you said, a GPR with orientation inmates and AdSeg overflow, that made
mhm,
sense. Probably back in your day, those overrides make sense. These
mhm.
overrides do not make sense, man. When you have a level 4 with 999 points and you pull up their RBR, their 115 history on
Right.
Psalms, and it says battery on a peace officer, battery on a peace officer, battery attempted with a deadly weapon, SBI, boom, 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 boom. And then you go to the classification and you got a AW, a CC2, and a warden, and they say, oh, it has good behavior. Let's give him a good behavior override to Donovan.
Right.
That doesn't make sense, bro. That's
But see,
dangerous.
so what would they? I get your point. I think the courts have said. I'm not saying it was a wise move, but I think the courts historically, which the courts change, so we never know. But historically, they had always said CDC can, has the right to house people wherever they want to house them, right? Like we're not in the business of telling prison administrators how to run prisons. Um, but that kind of gross negligence standard that you have to reach of they knew that the victim's life was going to be put in danger by putting this individual here. And not only did they not do anything about it, they actually, when they could have, they went over the line. And I don't know that that burden is met here. But from your point of view, what do you think then? Because Snoop was in the RHU, right?
So I,
So if he has enemies everywhere, right? Because he's been SNY for forever, right? And he's the big chip Playboy president, right? He has a lot of enemies. That's what happens. Um, so he has enemies, let's say on every SNY and integrated level 4. Um, then what do you do with the guy?
so I'm huge on policy and procedure, man. Like
Mhm.
I learned the book so that I
Right.
can, maneuver.
Hmm.
There is something in the DOM, Departmental Operation Manual. I'll try to look it up right now. And it does say, and I used to use this a lot. It says every peace officer has the duty to protect the inmates
Hmm.
and the staff and the safety and security institution. To me, that's a catch-all, bro. To me, that's
Hmm.
like, hey, you should have you're a peace officer, bro. We're not some Mickey Mouse mall security
Right.
we go through an academy, we get training, we get sworn into the peace officer, penal code, we get a badge, right? We get powers of a peace officer.
Mhm.
You should have known that this inmate was going to get murdered, right? It's your job. It's your job. The problem is that these managers don't give two flying. They're heartless, bro.
Mhm.
They're narcissistic, egotistical. They don't care that inmates are dying. They don't give a f that staff members are dying. They truly do not, bro. It's
Mhm.
sickening, really. So, like, let's talk about the California model, the Norway model. And yeah, you're right. All they have to do is just put it on their website. Hey, look at over here. We're playing sports.
Mhm.
Look at all these murders we just had, right? What do you think is going through a CO's mind? Well, damn, these inmates are dangerous. Look,
Yeah.
they just butchered literally knives. Oh my
Right.
God. And you're telling me I gotta play football with this dude? You're telling me I gotta play soccer with these guys? And if you're a brand new CO, you don't know no better, bro. You never seen nobody
Right.
get hit. You never been hit.
Right.
It's That's why I say a cop's gonna get killed. They there's no more line. Everything's mixed.
It's funny you mentioned that. So I did a little bit of research, right, for an upcoming video. It's crazy, uh, but part of it is kind of what you're saying now, right? So I'll put it out there. Uh, the individual who whacked that chomo in Salinas Valley, right, last year, that was on the EOP yard, right, over there, which is the Norway, California. Well, that's the foosball yard, right?
Right, right, right.
And it's crazy because I got other folks at Salinas Valley that I talk to, and they're like, "Hey, host, how come we don't get like we're going home and we're level-headed people, we're programming, right? We're GP, we're programming, we have highlights, we have incentives, we have support systems maybe at the house. Like, how come we're not getting these specialized treatments and shit? Like, how come we don't put an ankle monitor on me and let me go to work and then bring it back
Facts.
to prison? Why are you taking these dudes that have 197 years and 5 bodies and 100 staff assaults, and those are the ones that get the root beer floats, right? While
Facts.
we get fed in the cell. So there's that argument. But that individual, the specific person who whacked that chomo, right? Which no love lost for that dude, right?
Right.
He has 2 bodies in CDC already, right? Both of those were also chomos, right? So he's got a thing. He has a type, right? He has a type. The second one that he caught at Tracy, right? He had not had a celly since after he whacked the first dude years ago, right? He's been single cell ever since for good reason. You know what I mean? This chomo comes back on a violation. He's single cell status at Tracy because he's a chomo, right? Staff comes along. Hey, you're gonna get a celly. Okay, I just want to let you know, I'll sell up with anybody, black, white, Mexican, anybody, just not a chomo. Okay, what do? They put him in a cell with a chomo. That's his very first celly since he whacked his last one. So what does he do? In less than an hour goes by, and that dude's dead, right? He goes to court, and when he goes to court, they charge him with the death penalty, right?
Yeah.
They want to give him the death penalty, and the DA says the reason that we're seeking the death penalty, we understand the victim is not sympathetic, right? And the last victim not sympathetic either. The reason that I'm seeking the death penalty is because this individual is a lifer and has already shown that they have the capacity to end other people's lives behind the wall, and they're a lifer, and so my fear is for the staff. Staff is going to have to monitor this dude for the rest of his life, and he's clearly a violent person. So I think that he should be on death row, isolated over there, as opposed to just free to run around the prison. That was the DA's rationale, at least their expressed rationale in the media, for seeking the death penalty against this individual, right? Now, it's California, Holmes. You don't get the death penalty no more, right?
Correct.
So he didn't actually he got found guilty. He didn't get the death penalty. But it's funny that when he takes out the second person that he's taken out behind the wall, the DA of, I think it's San Joaquin County, Stanislaus, whatever, Tracy, right? The DA for that county is like, hey, fool, this should be a capital case because this dude's dangerous, right? That same dude, now years later, is in the EOP program. He's in the California model where they play foosball. Like, at one time, they wanted to execute this fool because
So
he was too dangerous for COs to have to supervise. And now you have COs where you're like, it's your job to make root beer floats and
right,
watch Disney movies with him.
right,
And you can't tell me he's rehabilitated because he caught another body
right.
on that yard. It's
So
just funny that the paradigm shift.
let me give you a day in the life of what a GP active soldado has coming in CDCR and what a SNY EOP has coming in CDCR. Right.
Okay,
And
let's go.
I always say the GPs are getting the shit end of the stick. Gotcha, man. They're getting, if you're a GP soldado active level 4, you get released to chow. You eat your good old chow in the chow hall. You get released to education. You go to the chapel, go to the law library. You got some action right there. What else you be having? Recreational yard. You get some day room, and maybe they have one of those classes, AA, NA, life without a crutch, maybe, right? And then you lock it up and you do the whole you do the whole thing all over again, right? Let me welcome you to the world of SNY EOP, level 4, bizarro world. You come out, you go to group in a mental health building. There's hot ass psychologists, hot ass nurses and scrubs. These maniacos start taking out their dick off, right? The nurse don't hit her alarm. It's just a disaster, bro. You got cutting themselves in the holding cell. You got dogs walking around. You got what do they call them? Recreational therapists. They're free staff. They're playing football with the inmates on the yard. Rec therapists. They're playing catch. And you imagine like somebody that comes from a GP to there, you're like, what the is going on here, right? Food sales on the yard, lowrider show cars, and these inmates are not behaving, bro. They are assaulting staff, they're assaulting female staff, they're making fake PRIA allegations saying that they got a bunch of transgenders running around everywhere. You got chichis and lonjas and nalgas showing everywhere, bro. You got ice cream. You got root beer floats. You got a young officer getting his neck adjusted, cracked. You see that video?
No.
No, damn. I'm gonna shoot
No.
it to you. You have like, it's so weird. And the more that these guys act out of control, they got tablets. What else they got, man? They be anything you can think of, they have, right? It's a big difference from GP.
Yeah.
GP. So the more that these guys act out of control, they don't get down during alarms. There could be an officer fighting an inmate, boom, boom, and staff assault. The alarm blaring, every inmate is standing up, being a looky-loo, getting involved, like a George Floyd protest. It's crazy, bro. It's nuts. And then what do you have? You have the captain, the associate warden coming and pleading and begging and bargaining and negotiating with the inmates. What can we do to help you behave better? And it's like, hey, motherfuckers, they already have it all.
Right. What can't you do?
That's
right?
the difference, dude. That's the difference. Does
See,
that sound weird to you?
Oh, of course. It's offensive. It's I went I've talked about it a little bit before, but I went back to Pelican Bay as a college student, right? To go talk to guys that were out there. The shoes were empty though already, right? So the shoes were emptied out. So we went out there to the main lines and talked to the guys, level 4, right? The whole 9 that were taking college classes. And it was like to encourage them, this and that. And it's meaningful for them because I was in the back with some of these dudes, right? Now I'm coming in street clothes. I mean, a lot of years later, but still, now I'm coming in street clothes like, hey, fool, they fucking, you come out and go to college and they'll pay you, So as a part of our walk around, because it was just myself and Danny Murillo were the only ones that had ever done shoot time that were in this group. Other people in the group had done time, but just never up there in the Bay, right? And then a lot of people had never done no time. They just, they like to help out people. So we go there, and so as a part of our thing, they're like, oh, we're gonna go in the shoe. And there's like a little area in the shoe where guys are taking classes. I was like, in the shoe, mind you, obviously I'm out of there way before I paroled before the short corridor, collective thing. Like it was still very much snitch parole die, the worst of the worst.
All right,
CDC was running the infomercials on police station shit. So very different look now. For years, I got escorted up and down those hallways, right? That they always show on TV when they show Pelican Bay. Now everything is open.
Yeah, right.
All the sections are open. All the doors are open. I seen this motherfucker with an art easel and a canvas painting in state blues painting. And I'm like,
it's offensive.
It was like I'm not hating on that dude, right? Like, hey, bro, enjoy your time, homie, right? But I'm looking at the administration like, once upon a time, this was the worst of the worst. We were so dangerous that it's like, and those weren't regular escorts. Those are leg irons and tied to the person behind you and up to the waist and the waist chains and seals and a dude walking right above you with a gun or a little grate like this. Like it was all this extra, and the narrative about us, which obviously we hear, and some people, I guess, wear that shit with a badge of honor, but for those of us that have been through it and then come home and kind of adapted to society, we're like, I was kind of messed up. And now I'm like, this was built for us, how we were, right? But you mean to tell me all along, could have been doing art classes, right? Like, it didn't have to be that way. You made it seem like it had to be that way, and we needed that and everything else. But now, many years later, all the doors are open. Ain't nobody getting escorted. Ain't nobody, like, I saw 10 times more inmates than I saw staff. That was never the case in the shoe. You always seen 10 times more staff than you seen inmates, right? Like, and I was like, this is wild. So
there was a sweet spot. Yeah, if I can dictate a sweet spot, it would be from how you guys were locked down for decades. That's like the far end of the drastic, horrible side, right? And you got more Picassos over here painting murals and fucking off to nurses, that's
Right.
the drastic liberal side, right? There
Mhm.
was a sweet spot. I can't remember when. I came in 2006. If I could say the sweet
Mhm.
spot was probably 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009 was pretty wild. Like in between 2007 and 2009, right?
Mhm.
Had they just not went full throttle on what they got going on now, I think CDCR could have prevailed, man. Or at least whatever, anything is better than what's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. So some people think, Pancho said I can picture the big homie saying, "Take me back to the shoe."
I laughed when I
Hey,
saw
there's
that.
probably some. And
It's headaches, bro. It's headaches for
right.
everybody.
And again, shout outs to the 230 people watching, man. You know, I see your comments, and like I said, I promise I will go scroll through them. But I'm just kind of in the conversation. But I'm glad you guys are here. You know, I appreciate you. Please make sure you hit the like. So, it there's some people saying this is all the sprinkling of S and Y's, the the propaganda that all yards are integrated now when dudes on the yard are all running modified programs and everybody's miserable, right? Like everybody's miserable, you know.
Facts.
So I can see how, from a CO standpoint, there's a powder cake because ain't nobody here happy, right? No staff,
Facts.
no inmates, no SNY, no PCs, no GPs, no chomos, no killers, no gangsters, no kitchen staff, no Picassos. Nobody's happy. Uh, there's a lot of folks that are saying uh, this is CDC's way of justifying putting everybody else back in the shoe. They're so mad that the shoes are empty that they're manufacturing this so that there's going to be incredible rates of violence and all this other stuff. So then they can turn around and go back to the government and the legislature or whoever and say, we need to take all these gang members and put them back in the shoe. What do you think of that?
Okay. The people in charge of CDCR are not the brightest. They're not. I'm not kidding you, bro. Like if
Right.
you had a scale of 10, 10 being Einstein, 1 being completely incompetent and inept,
Mhm.
it's on the lower one end, bro.
Right.
Like I mean you probably grew up in a gang. I think you said
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you have that history. Now imagine if everybody has that one dude in the neighborhood that's kind of out there and like not bright.
Right.
Imagine having him take over the whole gang and lead everybody for fucking 35 years. That's what you have now. They're the scare.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Here's a scary part, bro. They don't have a clue as what to do, or they
Mm,
they they, they created this and they don't have a plan. And I know this, bro. I was in the military. I know when
right.
somebody has a plan and when somebody doesn't have a plan. Every
Good
day
point.
we're coming to work. And what are we doing today? Well, I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. We'll see what happens. What do you mean we're gonna see what happens, motherfucker? Like what can
Right.
happen is somebody's gonna get killed. Like I don't like playing with those odds. They don't
That's
have a plan, bro. You have some 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 idiots, bro. Some idiots in charge, man. It's dangerous.
so I'm glad you say that, right? Personally, I don't subscribe to the thought that um this is a strategy to put all the affiliates back in the shoe. I think lawmakers, right, politicians, so not CDC administrators, but politicians,
Mm.
um, they see and maybe they're going to change their mind at some point, right? But they see a political benefit and I'm sure an economic one, and the same shit that motivates all politicians, right?
Right.
They're incentivized to uh, 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 kind of stigmatize the prison, to do the Norway model stuff, right? To do the San Quentin prison project stuff,
It's
to do this.
money.
Yeah, I I don't think Gavin Newsom, for example, has any desire to see everybody back in Pelican Bay,
Nah.
right? I think to him that would be a massive failure of what he's been saying. I don't think state legislatures, right, the majority of them have any desire to see everybody slam back down, right? So it's I don't think that's it. Now, on an administrator level, I wasn't really sure, but you kind of answered it with they're just too stupid to know
Got
left
to.
from right. So
Bad.
they're just kind of bobbing on the knob of the of the legislature, right? The politicians say, I want these results. So the administrators are like, cool, we'll create these results. We don't know how we're going to make these results. We'll just kind of wave a magic wand, right? Like, oh, like Norway project, let's call California project, put it over here. Well, there's not a lot of people on the yard in Stevens Valley. Let's just go over there, and let's see what happens, right? Oh shit, they're killing each other. Okay, but there's behavior modification. Like it's so they don't really have a plan.
It,
But
real quick, Rascal, it was cool.
Sure.
It was cool for them when Hector Bravo wasn't exposing their. It was cool. It was cool for them when the murders were happening, and I wasn't bringing everybody attention like this. Like, oh, there's another one, right? They got away with a lot for so long because everything was kept under the wraps. Now it's a whole different song and dance.
Well, and I've said from the beginning, right, that your voice obviously is a unique one just from your position, your experience, you coming, right? There's a lot of folks that do content about prison, right? Most of them I think have done prison time, right? But at some level, right? Which there's another thing too. Not all time is equal, and
Correct.
not all like is. You can say you've done time, but if you're doing time on a level 2,
right,
your time looks different than if you're doing time in the SU program or the mainline or the hospital or whatever. But that's a whole separate story. But there's a lot of folks on YouTube that have done time, and we would talk about prison, right? And we'll talk about the violence or talk about things happening on in CDC. But all we have is our own perspective, and I'll speak for myself. I can try to kind of put myself in the shoes of, and I think I'm mildly good at that when I haven't worn anything close to those shoes, right? Like, so I can try to be a critical thinker and try to like, oh, what kind of passes the smell test? But being a correctional officer is so far outside of my lived experience that it's a ton of assumptions. And it's assumptions that are biased from my perspective as somebody that did time. And so, I can be cool. And so I don't hate these guys and be more level-headed now that I'm out of that world.
Right.
But that still doesn't mean I can put myself in their shoes. So that's where your voice, I think, has been particularly valuable, is not just, oh, okay, I worked in CDC, right? But you saw some things, aside from specific instances, but you saw patterns, right? And you rose through your own ranks, and you had to deal with stuff that a lot of us never had to deal with. A lot of people in prison have to deal with it, but none of us are in prison anymore. I never had to deal with none of that shit, right? Like, I don't know. The closest I came to like the EOP stuff, I remember when I was in Solano, building 2 was the triple CMS building, right? Hot med building. And so I had to go in there for something. I had taken the health class. This was the 90s, but they were doing this little training where you learn about communicable diseases and that kind of stuff. And then you're a health ambassador on the yard. I took it because a health ambassador gets access to the other buildings, right? And I'm a health ambassador. I have to talk to these guys about hepatitis. Boom. And I can go in there and do whatever I got to do. I went in building 2 one time, and I seen, it's level 3, right? And so you go inside the rotunda, and there's a little CO's desk right there, right? The office is over here, but there's a little desk kind of sitting in the middle of the day room. And normally there's a CO sitting at that desk. If not, they're going to be in the office, right? I walk in, there's a rolling chair. I seen like an office chair, a rolling office chair go by. There's a CO sitting in the chair. And there's an inmate pushing the chair. And I was like,
in the 90s?
Yeah, this was 90, probably like 97, 98, right? And these dudes came to the yard with us. These dudes, like, there was nothing separate about them. But we weren't blasting people for being JCats back then, right? The whole EOP thing wasn't what it sounds like it is now. I've heard from other people kind of the EOP designation. This was just the hot med building. If you're on hot med, you live there. And really the only advantage, I thought, until I walked inside, the only advantage was
did they look like they were having a good time?
But so what I remember about that building on the yard is if it got too hot,
Right.
those dudes had to go inside.
Correct.
And it's Solano, it would get kind of hot right there, right? So those dudes would have to go inside and they would get day room. And also you could get ice, right? You can go to that building and get ice. There was no place else in the prison that you're gonna get ice. I don't even know where they got the ice to give to these dudes. Like, I don't know, because I worked in the kitchen, I never seen no ice. We definitely didn't have ice machines on the yard. So I don't know where they found the ice for these dudes. But the big old yellow like buckets, they would come with the ice and they could get ice and ice water. And I was like, it kind of sucks, but I'd like some ice. But going inside, right? When I first transferred there, they put me in that building. I was in that building for 2 days, but it wasn't crazy like that. I was on orientation and they just didn't have a cell for me. So they put me in there and then I come out to you got to see the homeboys and like, oh, we're going to put you over here. And they move me. After that, I never went inside until then. And I seen the show. And I was like, what this is? So there was a little bit of that, but nothing like what it is now.
Going back to the shoe, this is from my perspective and my experience why I do not foresee individuals getting locked down in a program similar to the shoe in the future for just off a hunch from these three reasons. One is because of the lawsuits. CDCR fears lawsuits.
Yeah.
They probably got 1 million lawsuits on them from every angle. Okay. Number two is the agenda. The agenda is the Norway model, Gavin Newsom wanting to look good, narcissist and whatever. The last one is serious, man. Those heavy hitters, those big homies are not going to allow themselves to be locked down again. They're not. They're absolutely not. It's they did the hunger strike. That was peaceful. And I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they chose that route. The other route is going to happen.
Yeah. You know, I have a video. I'll probably do it today, but you know, with all this Ironwood stuff, I haven't done a video about it. I'm not going to. I think all you guys really covered it, you know, pretty well. But it made me think back of all the different instances that I saw of violence between, you know, staff and residents, right? And I've seen a lot of crazy situations. But it's funny, in the 90s, what you would see, and I wonder if you've seen this. I bet it doesn't happen anymore. But CEOs used to get escorted off the yard, right? They lay the yard down, they slam the yard, and the CEO would get taken off the yard, and you wouldn't see that CEO anymore, you know, because they did something wrong. And so to protect them, right, you got to go. And I'm sure they, you know, I don't think they fired him or anything crazy, right? I'm sure they put him in another position somewhere. But I saw a good handful of times, right? And that's what through the video, I'll go through the different situations. Some of them are kind of funny. But in terms of violence towards staff, like you were saying in your video and other people have talked about, and I've seen every group get violent with staff on occasion, right? It, especially on a level 4 yard, I saw violence towards staff. Personally, I never saw violence towards staff from brown folks, at least, right? Because those are kind of people I know a little more about the details of the situation. That was unprovoked. Now, did the staff member who got it, were they the offender? Not always.
Yeah, not always.
But they're a representative of. And the Southsiders in particular, they did not play that shit, Holmes. And I will say, like in Salinas, they had the biggest numbers, right? And there was times that I was thankful for them standing up, even though obviously not a Southsider. But like they used to you know, hit the alarm, and you know, especially level 4s, you gotta lay down. Right. You can't squat, you can't just kneel. No, you lay down. Well, they get these false alarms, and it's hot, bro. And we're laid out for 20 minutes. And the SEALs are just kicking it, talking, they're walking around, they're bullshitting, and we're all sitting here on this hot ass asphalt. Now it's starting to feel personal, right? Like, hey, can we get up? And fools would yell, like, oh, fools, can we get up? You better stay down right now. And that's what the Southsiders were like, man, hold the line. And they got up. Damn. Nah, man. And they were like, you guys better get down, or what? It's hot out here, so false alarm. You already told us it's false alarm. Resume normal program. You know what I mean? and we got up. right? Look around, everybody getting out, okay?
Yeah.
Because now, and it wasn't get up and rush the COs, but one of the reasons that was one of the reasons I think they got away with it. For one, you're talking about a large number of people that collectively, in particular, like they'll hurt you, right? But this is the same group that blasted almost the life out of a bulldog that was under escort
Oh,
just because he was being escorted to parole
didn't know
across the
that.
yard, and it was Southsiders yard time, and they, I'm like, you know, the COs let go, like, hey, ain't my problem. So this fool shackled, getting blasted, you know, he paroled to the hospital. But they also blasted a bunch of COs when I first got to Salinas, right? Um, because the COs were just pulling dick moves, right? And stupid stuff, right? Um, and they got tired of it. And that group, at least in that prison, and I'm sure it's true in other prisons too, but it's the only place I've been where they had those kinds of numbers on the main line. That group was deep enough and disciplined enough in the sense of you have people in charge, and then you have everybody that's going to listen, and that's
Yeah.
a lot of people. And
Well, all it takes is one, you know, and you want let's talking about staff assaults. There's probably 100 different ways you can slice it and dice it. What
mhm,
causes them, and that's a good example right there. I've seen it I want to say every which way in every race, man. Everything
yeah,
from the crazy mother that some inmate just tells a crazy guy, a DD,
yeah,
mentally disabled, hey, go punch that cop, motherfucker,
right,
punch the cop. Yeah,
I'm
you know what I mean.
sorry.
That shit happens at Donovan
Mhm,
often. Just all kind. I've seen it sliced every which way, man, dude. But the problem, let me tell you what the problem is, man, from a Green's perspective or former Green. You want to know how administration thinks now?
hmm,
When you get your ass kicked by an inmate, the first thing they do is say, what did you do to provoke that inmate?
right.
That's off the top. That's not a good
Which
feeling, man.
which that's gotta suck for the guys in green.
It's
That's the
horrible.
same thing I think when I hear that that staff got assaulted, but I'm not coming from a staff perspective, right? I'm coming from a convict's point of view, right? So when you tell me that these convicts took off on the CO, well, fucking one of the COs must have done something. Maybe not that one, but somebody in uniform did something that provoked it. Unless you're talking about JCats, right? But if I was you, I would be incredibly bothered because, like, you're supposed to be on my team. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
But one thing I noticed from a lot of the guys that did times in the 90s, like you guys, you have to understand that the generation for inmates and staff inside changed just as it is on the streets. So you see
Mm,
wild stuff on the streets, right? You see disrespectful people going into stores, stealing shit that doesn't belong to them and
right,
walking out. You have that mindset, that mentality is you're not going to tell me nothing. I don't give a
yeah,
few, bitch.
right.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't be a CO right now, bro. I definitely
No.
couldn't be a CO with a body worn camera. Facts, right? Like last thing you do is fuck you, bitch. You ain't shit on
Right,
dead homies. Oh,
right.
you know, and I'll tell you one thing, bro. I'll tell you one thing. I, I have a 4 or 5 year old daughter, so I can
Right,
have the common sense and the peace to sit in the chair and just right now because
right.
I'm weak or scared or a bitch.
No,
Just
it's a
yeah,
parental skill set.
I
Right.
ain't listening to you, right? But the second the dude flexes on me or comes up and
Mhm,
flinches, or I'm gonna do what I got to do. Then
right.
I'm gonna go under investigation. Then I'm gonna get in trouble. It's not there. COs are trying to hide, bro. They're trying to
Mm,
hide. They're trying to survive. Everybody that I know is trying to get the away from inmates, man. They're trying to drive the little
mm,
car outside around, be in the
right,
tower. And I tell
right,
them, bro, good job. That's what you need to be. That's
right,
what you need to be, man. It's a marathon. You need to survive the game.
yeah. Yeah, when we were talking, I know you mentioned that it's, a lot of these people are still most, of these COs are still just guys with jobs, right? Guys and girls, but still just people with jobs, right? That sign up for their tenure and they're hoping to get their years in and get their government retirement
Right.
and live happily ever after. So uh for those who like I have in the past too, but excuse me, take the perspective of, well, if these COs understand, if these COs and these sergeants and these lieutenants recognize the BS for what it is, well, how come they're not doing something about it? How come they're not doing something about it? And I guess what I hear from you often is, what really can they do?
Can't do
Right?
shit, bro.
You can do something because you're free. You're not in the department. You can come on YouTube and you can say whatever you want. Right. And You can inspire, I'm sure, people that work there, encourage people, try to give them direction, But if that's your job, that's your paycheck, that's how you pay your mortgage, that's how you buy your kids school clothes, right? And so what else are you gonna do, right? And it's not like there's just another prison system in California you can go work for, right? Like I'm gonna resign from CDC and I'm gonna go over here to this. What there's the only game in town when it comes to corrections, at least, right?
Right.
So, uh, and it's got to be rough, man. So how I don't know, the age old question, right? That I think we all keep asking is how is this gonna play out?
Expose them. Expose them. So it's no different in an analogy or a comparison. Let's say you're under a criminal organization, a gang. Let's say you're under a gang organization for the South. You're just a soldier. You're just a soldier. Homie, you ain't making no decisions. You ain't
Right.
calling no shots, right? If the person at the top tells you this is a new rule, that's it,
Right.
bro. The second that you question that, you're getting your head chopped off. That one,
Right.
literally. It's the same thing for CDCR Green, man. You're
Right.
not. And you know what's gacho, bro? You know what's scandalous? Is that our higher ups, they will put fake, frivolous investigations on you. I was sitting behind those closed doors with
Mm.
those managers. They would laugh, they would giggle. It's like the Italian mob, bro. It's scandalous. Like,
It's like
dude,
a game, like politicking on people and just let's shake things up over here just to see what happens. Cause come on,
hey,
anyways.
childish, vindictive, retaliation, harassment. And bro, that disgusted me, man. That's not why I signed up for the job. I
Mhm.
had good leaders in the military, great leaders that would die for me in the military. Some did. And I get to CDCR and I'm like, it took a while. It took 16
Sure.
years for me to see it. I'll tell you the truth. Had I not seen what I seen, I'd probably still be employed right now, bro, because it took what it took.
Hmm.
Think
Yeah.
about it. And that's another thing. It's like when I was an officer, 8 years. The only thing I know is inmates, right? I don't know what the hell the bigwigs, the sergeants do. The sergeant's sleeping, man. The sergeant's chilling. Don't bother him,
Hmm.
right? You would at least hope that they have your best interest in mind. That's the
Yeah.
last thing you could at least hope for. You promote to sergeant, you start getting the bullshit from the bottom, bullshit from the top. It's a big shit sandwich. And when I promoted to lieutenant, I look around and I'm like, oh no, these people are bad up here. These people are
Yeah.
bad. That's how it looked for me, bro. Like that's lifespan.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I think the other thing, and you're good at reminding people of this, right? And I try to as well. At the end of the day, we're still talking about people, right?
People.
And of course, there's a segment of the prison population that I could give a shit less if that institution caught on fire. Put
Facts.
them all in one institution and
Facts.
then, blow it down. I don't care. That's fine. Let's practice our little Scud missiles on that one right there. Watch out. You know, um, it's a small segment relative to the masses, right? Which doesn't mean I think all the rest of the folks should come home tomorrow. Some people still need a
Right,
time
right. They
out,
need
right?
time.
But um, but it's still people, and it's families out here, and I remember talking to families and talking to folks when they were first starting the integration at the lower levels, and you had a dude, he got his points down to level 2. He been down 27, 28 years. He was getting ready to come home in like 2 years. He was a GP guy, and they want to put him on an SNYR as part of the integration. And he's like, well, I can't be here. You know what I mean? Like it's and not because a gang was telling him, he wasn't even affiliated like that, right? But not because a gang was telling him or anything else, just he spent the last 2+ decades of his life programming a certain way and and got his shit together. He don't want to be over here with these dudes, right? Puts him over there, the SNYs blast him. He goes to the hole. He comes out. He gets off now because I'm not going to get blasted again, right? So this dude and the families out there catching word from other inmates' families that communicate, they lose touch. They move into a prison hella far away. So it's all a mess, right? And that's a mess for everybody. And what did that dude do to deserve it, right?
Right.
Nothing. Is you want to talk about the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, right? Fair to say, he never had a chance yet to come home and test it. But based on his behavior in there, likely that he had some rehabilitation. A lot of times when people are down decades, right, that it tends to kind of soften you a little bit in some ways. And he had picked up some skill sets. His points were still low, so obviously he wasn't running around acting a fool. right? He dropped from a level 4 to a level 2, not the other way around. So that's supposed to be what we want, right? Is rehabilitated guys with family connections and all this other stuff. But now you're gonna go throw him to the wolves over here for your political agenda, and it's more than a press release, you know?
You know what happens if a correction officer lies and is dishonest in their job?
Hmm.
They get fired. They get
Yeah.
terminated, right? So where the how come captains and above all they do is lie? They omit. Like you said, it's a press release. I would have more respect for CDCR administration, CDCR headquarters. They flat out said, you know what, we created the S. If they came out on the news, when was the last time they came out on the news, suited up, man? Somebody, a bigwig from CDCR. They
Hmm.
hide. If they
Right.
came out and said, you know what, we are the California Department of Corrections. We've been in business this long. We created an SNY program. It was an utter failure. It didn't go the way we thought it was. We are implementing now. Our plan is to integrate former general population and former SNY inmates, period. Then at least it's kind of like they had the nuts to say that,
Right.
right? It's a harsh truth. It's a
Hmm.
harsh truth, bro. But it's like, okay, these motherfuckers are shady with it. These motherfuckers, like, don't tell me to go play softball with a motherfucker that's gonna kill me or has the
Right.
potential to kill me.
And instead, their narrative was, you know what? When you part of rehabilitation means that when you go out in society, your time's going to have to be around people that you don't like. And so that is why we're mixing SNY and GP, because in the real world, you don't get to control who your neighbor is. You might not like them, but that doesn't mean you could be a criminal. So now we want to manifest that in prison and put you. It's like, hold on, Holmes. That actually is not a reflection of society whatsoever.
At all.
That's really not where it was. Because I tell you what, in society, if my neighbor came over and was like, hey, I'm a chomo, guess what? They're getting whacked too. And I'm in the real world. Like, that doesn't happen out here, right? But also you have freedom of movement and it's not manufactured. And
Correct.
we all understand while there are similarities between society outside of prison and society inside of prison, right? And prison is a microcosm of society. They are different worlds though, too. So it don't use how I survive prison against me and say, well, those tactics won't work out here, but I don't have to survive society. You know what I mean? And that narrative always really bothered me. Like,
Let me pick your brain with this question from your perspective.
hmm,
The current warden of Donovan, Hill, he used to be my sergeant at Centinela. Right. I know the dude. I saw how he moved. He was in ISU. He was in the goon squad. All right. You know, I told you once they promote up the ranks, whatever.
right.
Last month, he was having officers' vehicles towed from the parking lot because they were parked in like spots that were not designated parking spots. There might have been like a little piece of dirt. A CO put his car right there parked. They went inside, maybe running late or whatever. Hill calls the tow truck company that's conveniently across the street and is having all these cars towed, right? I mean, you're the warden of an institution. But fast forward 3 weeks later, and you have badass Snoop and the other dude murder another inmate, a level 4 override. What is your take on priorities?
Right. Yeah,
Your take.
it. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, right? Like you, it's you're. We used to call it, was it like majoring in the minors, right? You're majoring on the minors. It's it's when your whole house is a mess, right? Like you see the hoarders' houses, right? And they have shit for the last 20 years piled all up through their house. You can't even see the floor, right? But then you sit there and you're like, man, you know what? I haven't cleaned my fingernails in a while. Let me see right here, right? And but it's important to have clean fingernails. Fair enough. But you're sitting in feces all around you. You know what I mean?
Facts.
It's majoring in the minors, and I think people do that though sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And I think especially people in professional positions, right? Not just kind of through the course of life. They do that because it's the control factor, right? And it's I'm staying busy. I'm doing something I'm doing something that's demonstrable. You know, you can see the results. You can see the tow trucks. You can see the cars. I'm 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 accomplishing so I can stop this from happening. 'Cause I bet you I keep towing cars. Eventually, people are gonna start parking in these places I don't want them to park. Right. So I can accomplish. So I can set a goal and reach it. Right. Um, I'm asserting my authority.
Right.
Right. So you know I'm in charge, and I
Right.
make happen, and I'm
Wow.
busy, and I'm doing
Wow.
something, and so I can see myself in the mirror more comfortable when I go home. You can
Wow.
see the other staff and see the mark I'm leaving on this institution. Hey, remember how it used to be crowded right there when you take that turn to
Ah!
the parking lot right there? See that shit? It's not crowded no more. I did that. I did that. Right? How long have people been parking in that dirt? Probably a long time. That's why it's dirt. Right? That's why it's not grass. That's why it's not curb. That's why it's dirt. The grass is gonna grow back next spring, I bet you, because those cars are gonna be gone. So that's that. I think that's what it is.
That's
And
cold, bro.
meanwhile, though, of course, the world is burning around you, right?
Facts.
Real quick, hey Roy, I did that because I wasn't trying to interrupt the conversation, but
Roy's a
if
troll,
you
bro. Roy's a
right,
troll.
if you got an issue with Hector, you got to take that to Hector, homie. But on my channel, when I have a guest, I expect them to be respected. So yeah, I shut you down, and I'll do it again if you want to keep going. I don't care. So I just like I said, I'm not really paying attention to the comments, but I looked over and I see something. I was like, this is
Mira, EOP, bro.
so so but again, like the world is burning around you, so you're not inspiring confidence, right? Amongst your leadership, but that's not what you're trying to do. And for the warden in that role, there's different leadership styles. Obviously, you talk a lot about leadership, right? Is one is the iron fist, right? If all you have is a hammer, the whole world's a nail type thing, right? So you're going to listen to me
Right.
because I'm in a position to make you listen to me, right?
That's
And
99.9% of administrators right now in CDCR.
right, and the other leadership style is you're going to listen to me because I've earned that right,
Correct.
and I'm going to give you something worth following, right?
Facts.
Like and also though, if I need to, I'm gonna smack you and let you know you need to listen. Also, for the days that you don't feel like being inspired, you're still gonna listen,
Right.
right? But what I want is inspired people under my leadership, rather than used and abused people under my leadership. But so the car towing, that's the iron fisted
So,
leadership.
so that, bro, you hit that nail hard on the head. So that was this current warden. When I was the PIO, the public information officer, and I eventually got told the warden Pollard at the time, he looked like Suge Knight, right? So I said, send me back to the line, sir. I don't want to be up here with you guys. This is what Warden Pollard was doing. He would get in his state vehicle and he would drive around the prison to the back of ADSEG behind Bravo facility. And back there, you have the medical buildings. And the officers would just be kicking back. So there's a bench out there. Those are the officers that escort the inmates from ADSEG to the mental health appointments.
Okay.
So he would get on the radio. The warden, he would get on the radio, start making a big old fuss, call the buildings. And I'm like, hey, what the? Don't we have an OP sergeant for that? Right? Don't we, motherfucker? Don't you have a prison to run? But it's that same concept you just said, bro.
Yeah,
These are the people we have in charge right now, man.
Yeah, it's
incompetence.
It is, and the scary thing is, I wrote an essay when I was in prison. I wrote a lot of essays when I was in prison, but let me just clarify real quick. I got arthritis, but one of them is flunkies in leadership, right? Because like in the SHU, we used to write out. I don't think I'm giving up game because most got cell phones now. So like this is old school shit where like we use pen and paper. But we used to take like leadership counselors, right? And I was a teacher in there, for the fellas. So, but I learned this from someone else that did it too. So we would write out these essays, basically, right? Like a few pages, normal writing, not the mini writing, like fairly normal writing, and we would put on there like psychology today, December 1994, right? To make it seem like we just Xeroxed in our writing an article from Psychology Today. It's not an article from Psychology Today. It's my own shit. But that way, when CDC found it, because your house is gonna get hit, you're in the hole, you get hit. They're not like, oh, this is gang writing. It's not gang writing, fools for recall. And good luck finding that article from 7 years ago, right? Well, you just got here last year. How you got this? It's passed down. It's passed down. That's what I got
Right.
from the homie, and I copied it in my writing and I passed it on. Um, but they were concepts. It was all concept stuff, right? So it was like bonds and it wasn't official education. When
Right.
they read it, they're like, oh, we know what this is. And one of them was flunkies in leadership, right? And the premise of it, I wish I still had it. I wonder if I got a whole box of like old mail and all shit from prison. I wonder if I have it in there somewhere. Because I think I sent it to like my mom to go send to other prisons. Um, but the premise was, sometimes, and I'll speak from a prison perspective, but I think you could draw the parallels. You're on a yard. You're one of the fellas. You're on a yard. You don't have a lot of homies to choose from. Right? You need certain responsibilities filled,
Right.
and and you don't have necessarily the cream of the crop, right?
Right.
So you do the best you can with the individuals that you have, right? So is this dude really capable of being a building channel?
Right.
No, but I can get him to do the basics, right? He'll let me know who are the new people coming into the building, what cell did it go to. Like he can do that stuff.
Right.
Can he mediate conflict? No, I'm gonna have to do that part. Ideally, I have a building channel that could do that also, but I just don't have that option.
Right.
But this homie is good enough for now in this role, right? The danger of that, right? Because you don't want to tell him, hey, look, bro, you're not really qualified for this shit, but
Correct.
you're the least of my evils, right? Um, and that's not very inspiring, right? So he's in that role. There's a danger. Let's say I get snatched up off the yard,
Right.
right? Somebody drops a kite on me. I get pulled off the yard, which would happen all the time back in the days, right? So this dude now is like, well, Rascal made me the building channel. Rascal sees something in me. I'm a superior leader. I'm the best leader on this yard now that he's gone. He
Hmm.
was the best, and I was the second best. Now he's gone, which makes me the best. And that's not a malicious thing, right? It's not. There are plenty, there's plenty of scenarios in here where you can inject like narcissism and ego and
Right.
pride
Right.
and
Right.
power stuff, but keeping all that stuff out of it, for the moment, a very well-intentioned person, and they're like, okay, so I need to build more leaders too, right? Because that's what Rascal did, right? He kind of built me up to the point that I achieved. So I'm gonna train other people now and build them up. Because what if they snatch me up next? So now they're building leaders, and there's blanks in there that I never got to fill in with them because we didn't have the time or because they
Hmm.
didn't have the capacity or whatever. But they're gonna deal with other struggles on the yard. Now they're gonna fill in the blanks the way that they think that I might fill it in, right? They're probably not accurate, right? But they don't know any better. So you have these people that think so highly of their skill set that then go replicate other versions of themselves. And then along maybe comes somebody who has leadership from somewhere else or who just kind of naturally is a little bit sharper or questions. Those people become threats, right? And everything just gets twisted. And you have flunkies in leadership, right?
Damn.
And how do you it would be very difficult to fix that now
You
because
gotta
now you have a cycle,
you gotta
right?
gut it. You gotta gut it.
Right. You need somebody from the outside to come in. But now if that person comes in, it's just like I'm stabbing all you guys because you're not good leaders. I mean, that's an option, but it's kind of brutal, right? And what are you saying to the rest of the manpower now, right? But to go in there and build them up, that shit takes time, right? Like look, homie, you're right here. I need you to get right here. Don't trip. I'm gonna work with you. Okay. Well, that takes a while. And in the meantime, now egos start getting involved or people feel some type of way. So and even then that only happens because God forbid, let's say I pulled that person. Let's say I'm an hermano, and this was really the context of it, but it applied even outside of politics. But if I'm a bro, which really I shouldn't even be able to pull another bro, but people did it all the time. But if I'm a bro and I pull this dude and I'm like, hey, now you're Northern structure too, right? According to to how it was supposed to be, all hermanos were equal. All structure was equal. I just gave this dude status. Again, the legitimacy of that is fine, but that will be debated potentially somewhere else some other day, right? But for practical purposes, well, now he's a bro, but he's not seasoned enough. He's not educated enough. He's not
Right.
experienced enough. He hasn't learned enough, but he has the status, right? So now when someone else comes who's smarter, more experienced, more seasoned, but doesn't have that status, hey, fool, if you were all that great, you would have this status, but you don't.
Right.
And I do have this status. So it's my
So
job to be in charge. And a dude comes from another prison and he's like, hey, fool, I have the same status. Okay, we're equal. Now we're not equal because you're still stupid. It and it's the flunkies in
so
leadership, the cycle.
leadership is leadership, whether it's in the army, military, whether it's prison, gang organizations, or whether it's staff, green. Leadership is leadership. Um, and let me tell you what type of quote unquote leadership is in charge of the CDCR right now, man.
Hmm.
Um, the like Hill or Pollard, he surrounded himself not with the smartest people, but with the people that would kiss his ass to boost his
Yeah.
ego, the ones that were not going to go against the grain, right? The ones
Mhm.
that were not going to talk back and laugh at all his dumb jokes, right? So, what if I told you? What if I actually told you? This is the first time I'm ever saying this, that managers and administrators for the California Department of Corrections sabotage their own sabotage.
Hmm.
Sabotage, bro. Does somebody sabotaging another person sound like they want rehabilitation for inmates or to make the department better or safety for the public or no, bro? How the can you sabotage the system? And I say
No,
this
they're
because
just trying to hold on. That's it. They're just trying to hold on to their role.
there's a very good respectable captain, solid ass dude, man. Yeah, I would go to war with this dude type of guy, man, and that's rare
Mhm.
at that level too. And they did this guy so dirty, bro. They sabotaged him over about 5 times over. Took money from his paycheck. This dude knew policy procedure. He had the gift of gab. He could talk to inmates. He could talk to staff, and they viewed him as a threat.
Right.
That is CDCR at every institution right now, man, to include
Yeah.
headquarters. And that's
And
why you
that's
got
what
what we got.
and that's the scary part. And it should be it's scary for those that are incarcerated, right?
Facts.
It's scary for those who work there,
Facts.
right?
And the
Um,
family members.
and scary for the relatives of those who work there and of those who live there, right?
Facts.
Um, and it should be scary to society,
Facts.
right? Um, but again, I think we live in a society where we want answers, right? We live in a social media world. You know what I mean? Hey, if you can't explain it in TikTok time
Right.
frame,
Right.
then it's fine. And this is very easy to explain, right? I think simple, to explain, much more challenging to fix, because where do you find the person, right? The people, it's going to take people, right? But
People.
when you have a governor that has a political agenda that says this is just the price of doing business, man, right? But don't trip. You're not looking at a shit show. You're just looking. Movies look different now. That's all, right? It's just different looking movie. So you that's not going to help. You have legislatures who, on one extreme, a handful, right, or kind of hyper conservative, kill all the inmates, right, and but those people don't really have a voice in California because it's a
True.
very left leaning state. But
True.
but that's one element. So it's not like you could look to the other party to help you, because the other party, the minority party, is just like fucking lock all these dudes up, never let them out, and make their lives miserable. Okay, well, I ain't nobody getting on board with that shit. But the dominant party is like, hey, dude, why don't we have spray tans in some of the colder prisons? You know what I mean? So that way when they come home, they don't get sunburned.
So they look
Which,
good.
right,
Bronze.
right. We don't want them to be sunburned when they come out. So that is a different extreme, right?
Facts.
Um, but a lot of those people come from communities also where those same families have loved ones that are locked up, and they probably been having loved ones locked up. For there's a segment of the population that's generational, right? And there's a segment of our communities in which incarceration is just a generational rite of passage. So those families remember the hyper abusive CDC, the this, the
Right.
that, the drama,
Right.
they remember all that. So they're already like, no, man, that
Right.
fuck CDC, we don't want that,
Correct.
right? So their local, representatives are in Sacramento doing the bidding of their people, right? Like, hey man, you guys can't have people in the super program for 30 years only because they got a birthday card, right? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
so, but then there's others that are just like, man, you know how good it looks to have, AB 792 with my name on it and
Right.
SB, whatever. And look, we just wrote this Senate bill. Fox News did a piece slamming it. You know how
Mhm.
good that makes me look because those guys,
Right.
hey, I'm gonna put my name on the bill too. Watch that, let's go. And you have the nonprofit industrial complex in the streets that gets a lot of money from a lot of foundations to advocate a lot of when most of them don't know what they're talking about.
Facts.
Um, so everybody's moving towards this, towards things being how they are. You have these administrators who are like, hey, I might want to go from warden to senator, who knows, right? And either way, like it's cool to be cool with the senators, right?
Right.
There's got to be a benefit to that, right? Can't hurt. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Can't hurt. I'm a government employee and the elected government loves me.
Right.
Okay, props to me. So they have no incentive to change. They don't even know what's going on in their prison until they
Facts.
see the press release, right? So they're not going to be helpful. And so from the top down, right? You have courts that in large part are kind of like, you know what? We've told CDC to do shit so many times,
Facts.
and they've lied and hustled and bullshitted and worked around it and ran scams and ran politics so many times for the last 50 years
Facts.
that you don't catch no slack from us, right? So you tell us you can't do something, we tell you that that means you can, and you just don't want to. So they're advocating because all the Toussaint cases and Madrid Gomez and all these cases of this extreme crazy shit and dudes getting the skin boiled off of them and then the SEALs being like, well, I don't know, he had a rash, you know, and so there's a legacy there, right? That those who are incarcerated, not as many now, like I had a homeboy that left prison. He's 47. And he's like, dude, I was one of the oldest homies on the yard. Like, there's not many my age. And I was like, damn fool, like
You got some
it's
old. You got some old cats around.
but those dudes are clicked up, right? Like, but for the revolving door population,
Right.
the not politics, not the shoot kick out dudes,
Okay.
just the fresh off the street dudes, or the always been on the main line type dudes.
Right.
There's not many that age.
True.
They all either get clicked up, so now they're in a little special club, or they lock it up, or at some
Right.
point they learn to stop coming to prison.
Facts.
But so he's like, look, but all these dudes like my age group, we know how to do paperwork, we know how to write 602s, we know all those legal cases, we know all this. We come from that legacy of those cases. So we're suing like crazy, right? Because that's what we know to do. And the courts are used to sort of hearing it. So where in all of this, right? When you have a governor with an agenda, you have state leaders with an agenda, some of them legitimate, some of them righteous, not all of them crazy J-cats, some of them just kind of doing the will of their people.
Right.
Those same families, though, are like, hey, I don't want a draconian prison, but I also don't want my GP loved one to have to go whack a SNY or my SNY loved one to have to go whack a GP
Facts.
or, anything else. So they want both. Like, keep my people safe. Don't put them in a wreck, but don't go put them in a corner all by themselves forever, right? So it's all this mix of 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 incentives, but the vast majority of them point towards continuing the trend. Then you have the dudes doing time who are screwed. You have the COs doing time for a paycheck that are screwed. And again, you have our families that are kind of mixed, sort of like, if I don't want my loved one to get killed, I just don't want them to be in a soup program for 40 years. And I don't want COs to be able to dip them on their head. And then you tell me, oh, Spencer, he tripped. Like, and so, which is not unrealistic requests, right?
Right.
And COs are like, I just want to know that you're not going to be able to sock me in the nose and stab me in the chest. And then I have to bring you dinner that day in the cell and ask you if you like a napkin. Like, I
Facts,
want to be
homie.
safe too. But where in this do you inject the reason? Like, because if you change the governor, right, then the Senate, everybody still exists. And if you want to be the new governor, you're probably going to have to be cool with the old governor. You know,
Right,
you have
right,
a
right.
cronyism system. So just changing the governor is not going to change all of that. Changing the CDC administrator, if the pressures from legislature, if the pressures from the voting public, if the pressures from elected leaders don't change, then the new head of CDC is not going to be able to change anything either. Because
you know what
so
I
I
think
don't know.
I think what it's going to take is holding people accountable, right? You have to from my perspective, we have to expose the ones that are doing dirt to make them feel uncomfortable, to retire, resign, quit, get arrested, whatever they're right. That'll send a message. That'll send a shockwave. Holy, that person got. Right? That person got. I could get got. Yeah, motherfucker, you could have got the whole time, right? But it just took a process. I think sending that shockwave, like, hey, you will be held accountable for your actions. It'll be a domino effect. The younger officers looking up can be like, okay, if I get out of line, they're gonna haul my ass off in handcuffs to the FBI station.
Right.
Do we really have to force integrity in our own department?
But that's the thing is, but it's integrity and leadership.
Well, leadership
is leadership is never in a vacuum, right? It's all these leaders are getting pressed from below and looked up to, you know.
I'm gonna be realistic. I was the crisis response team commander. That's like the SWAT team commander. It is challenging to be in charge of 21 individuals. That's alpha males. Let's be realistic. It is hard to be in charge of the California Department of Correction. You got free staff, medical, psych, custody, inmates. But what I'm trying to say is you can either make the right decision, make no decision, or make the wrong decision. They've been making the wrong decision for the last 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. And also, and I know this, especially for kind of this newer generation, statements like this, like, is like blasphemous. But you're not entitled to work where you want. You're not entitled to a certain job, right? Like so, I set aside the criminal stuff and everything else, right? I would make a horrible police officer, right? Because I don't have that temperament, right? Like if you piss me off and I could punch in your address in the computer, I'm gonna do it, right? And dude, I get road rage. Not so much now. I'm getting better, but there's times I'm on the road and I'm like, I'm gonna run this person off the road. If I had sirens and a badge, well, game over. Like so. I'm robbing people. I'm shooting people. I'm covering up crimes. I'm getting my loved ones out of trouble. I'm getting your loved ones in trouble. Like, I would be the worst corrupt. I'd make Denzel look like a Boy Scout, right? Which is why I would hope if somebody like me tried to become a cop, and again, not like me as in my actual life now, convict, everything else, but I would hope there'd be a mechanism in the recruitment process to kind of flag somebody like me and get me the fuck out of there. I have no business being a police officer. I'm a threat to society as a police officer. You don't want me on the job, right? There's a lot of people. I say all that to say some just don't have the temperament to be in certain jobs. For whatever reason. They're too scared. They're too crooked. Maybe they were great in the beginning, but now they're too jaded. They're pissed off. They developed a gambling habit. They smoke crack. They sleep with prostitutes. $100,000 not enough no more. So now they're bringing, and you're not entitled to the. Well, I've been here so long. Okay, but you're so bad. You gotta go, right? There's people in leadership that have no business being leaders, and how do you get to the point where you're like, look,
Don't get it
I know you
twisted.
had,
Don't get it twisted. People in leadership are also smoking crack, doing drugs, hooking up with prostitutes, bro. They just sweep that shit under the rug.
right. And but that's what I mean. I think especially with government jobs, which is probably part of the attraction for some people for government jobs. With government jobs, it's almost like, and California's famous for this anyways, but it's like once you have a job, it's really hard to lose it, right? And it's almost like I'm entitled to it, And I was an associate warden. What the fuck you mean you're gonna fire me? I should be the warden. No, dude, you just kind of suck at this shit altogether. Like you should go work at Ross or like TJ Maxx or the bank or something else. Like
Right.
it's you're just not meant for this role. You shouldn't work for this department. Not because we caught you with pictures on your computer or something crazy. Like it shouldn't take something like that.
Correct.
You just aren't good at this. I know you've been promoted. I know you're climbing the ranks. That's the whole flunky and leadership thing.
Facts.
I know you think you're probably good at what you do, but you're not, homie. You're not. So goodbye. Right?
That's it.
But who's gonna come around and do it? Hey, like duck goose when you're kids, right? You go around like duck.
I would do it, bro. They would hire me back and then retire the new one, and I'll go back and like, hey, you gotta pack your shit, you gotta go, man.
That's it.
People got to make hard decisions. Hey, leadership comes with responsibility.
Right.
People forget that, right? Everybody wants to have friends, this and that, motherfucker. Sometimes you got to make decisions.
Right.
Often.
Right.
Some decisions are not popular choices, but hey, if you put ultimately, with goodwill, and you put the department's, I don't want to say agenda because the agenda's wrong right now, but you put the department's mission like at the forefront per policy and procedure. I think if everybody just followed policy and procedure, everything would be fine, bro. That's the thing I'm trying to say. They're violating policy and procedure.
Just getting back to the basics, huh?
Back to the basic. But we should wrap it up, bro. I gotta take a
look,
man.
Yeah, no, I gotta run too, man. Hey, this has been a blast. I'm sorry I didn't get to the comments. I'll go back through and read them on the replay, I promise. But people like what we talk, bro. We got 191 people in here after 2 hours. So
that's good, bro.
I'll go hop over on your channel again.
Sure, no worries.
But I appreciate you. For those that don't know, obviously this is That Prison Guard. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Go subscribe to the Patreon, and let's do this, man.
Appreciate that, Josh. Thank you, man.
Man, help others move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you.